So a little while ago, I did a video where I debunked an article, and I guess that opened up the floodgates because since then I've gotten tons of people who have sent me this article here from CBR.com, Dragon Ball, 15 simple facts everyone gets wrong. Now, when I debunked that old article a few days ago, it really wasn't that bad. It was just a couple things here and there the guy got wrong. It wasn't that big of a deal. This article, though, I got problems with this article. And when I get done kind of going through all of these things, you're going to kind of understand that when I say things like, and I've said this in the past, like Screen Rant and CBR and Blasting News should not be covering Dragon Ball, you know, you're going to understand why. Like they really need somebody on these websites that knows what they're talking about. And the issue I have with this article, it's written by a guy named Sean Aitchison. Now, I have no idea who this guy is. I looked him up on Twitter, and I guess he writes for Screen Rant, CBR, and, you know, all these websites that pretty much are clickbait. That's what they're built upon. And the issue is this. The issue I have with this article is I have nothing personal against Sean Aitchison, but when you read this article, not only is the article very condescending towards Dragon Ball fans, but it's also wrong. And it's like if you're going to do an article where you're trying to correct other fans from being wrong, you might want to not make the same mistakes they're making or different mistakes. Now, obviously, in the past, we in the community, including myself sometimes, have been condescending. It happens, you know, forgive me for that. That's what happens in nerd culture. Sometimes we act that way. But at least you know that somebody like me is going to give you the straight facts, 100% truths. This article, though, like the dude's coming off like he knows more than Dragon Ball fans. And maybe I'm wrong because you can't really read tone and text. But when you actually go through the article, there's so many things he got wrong that it's almost like you're scratching your head, like you're like, stop, okay? So I'm going to go through these things and kind of clarify what he got wrong and what he needs to really brush up on here when it comes to Dragon Ball. Because let me tell you, this thing has a lot of mistakes. You know, the first sentence is one I disagree with right here. He writes that Dragon Ball is kind of confusing, scratch that, it's straight up convoluted, hard to follow, and hardly ever makes sense. That's complete nonsense. I've never ever had people... Look, Dragon Ball is a series made for Japanese children, and most of us got into it when we were kids. It's really not that hard to figure out. It really isn't. It's not that difficult to figure out. And again, you know, he says things like there's nothing wrong with being a casual fan, and then he's talking about how, oh, people forgot about Dragon Ball after middle school. Well, buddy, you can't say that if you're filling your article with nonsense. So let's go ahead and debunk the 15 simple facts everyone gets wrong. Even though the reality is not everyone gets this wrong. In fact, almost nobody does. Number 15, Super Saiyan's a power multiplier. He goes on to say that Super Saiyan is not a power-up, but it's a multiplier. So, yeah, number one, a lot of Dragon Ball fans already know that. That's not a big secret. Number two, a multiplier and a power-up are kind of the same thing. Like, yes, a multiplier does multiply your power, but when you have more, when something gets multiplied, you have more of it, and thus it's a power-up. If I have 2 oranges, multiply that by 2, I have 4 oranges. That's more oranges, hence more power. He says Super Saiyan is not actually an increase in power, but a power multiplier. It's like, well, no, buddy, a multiplier is an increase in power. So I think this one was just him trying to, like, figure out what to put as number 15. You know what I mean? Like, he couldn't find 15, so he's like, oh, let me just pick this one out. So that's a fail. Vegeta is a king. Now, I did a whole video, an entire video called The Prince of All Saiyans, where I broke down this whole thing about, you know, Vegeta, you know, because his dad died, he's not a king, he's a prince. And I explained, or he's not a prince, he's the king. I already explained that in that video. If you have not seen that video, you need to check it out because I broke down the psychological reasons as to why Vegeta refers to himself as that. And his whole thing here is that, you know, he's saying that, oh, he's actually a king. Well, that's lovely, but he never ever once refers to himself as a king. Plus, to be a king, you have to be crowned a king. And Planet Vegeta doesn't exist anymore. So it's just, it's bad. Like, it's just a pointless thing. He's not actually a prince. No, he's not. That's the point. If you actually watch the video I did, The Prince of All Saiyans, I explained to you why he calls himself that. Number 13. Now, here's where things start to get really stupid. Here's where I start to question this man's knowledge on Dragon Ball significantly. He brings up it's over 8,000. Now, first of all, a big majority of Dragon Ball fans, except for the really super casual, they know that it's over 8,000. They don't, it's not over 9,000. He talks about, here how most of the dubs say over 8,000, but his reasoning is downright stupid. His reasoning is I wonder if this dude even took 2 seconds to think for a minute, okay? He talks about the mouth flaps. He's saying that, okay, the mouth flaps have to match. That's one of the biggest crocs of shit I've ever heard. But you want to know why? Because basic English will tell you that the word 8 and the word 9 both have one syllable. See, he's saying that, the reason why they changed it to over 9,000 is because 9 has less syllables than 8. How the hell does 9 have less syllables than 8, bro? It's over 8,000. It's over 9,000. It's the same syllables. 8, 9, one syllable. The reason why it was changed is because it just sounded cooler. I've debunked this I don't know how many times, and I actually debunked it years ago in a video called Over 9,000 Explained. Way back. But according to this guy, 8,000 and 9,000 have two different syllables. Well, the problem with that is if you watch the uncensored version of Kai on the Blu-ray, Vegeta says it's over 8,000. It has nothing to do with the syllables at all. It has nothing to do with mouth flaps. Like, this guy's just listening to some people on the internet and not giving his own thought. Krillin's death count. Okay. That's the next one. Number 12. He talks about how Krillin's died 5 times in the Dragon Ball franchise. And obviously, the real answer is he's died 3 times. Not including alternate timelines or Resurrection F, he's died 3 times. So again, I'm going to give him a break on this one because if he's including Resurrection F and alternate timelines, then yes, Krillin did die 5 times. But he actually brings up GT and, things like that. And then he goes on to say, from what we know, Dragon Ball GT is no longer considered canon. So already there's a problem there. Like I've said a million times in the past on this channel, the Japanese, Toei, have never, ever once used the word canon. That's purely the fans discussing what is and isn't canon. So when I see somebody make an article and they use the word canon, not every single person, but like 98% of them have no idea what they're talking about. None. And you can't say GT is no longer considered canon. You can say it never was canon or it was canon. You can't say it's not. It just magically is not considered canon anymore. Doesn't work that way. So again, in the main timeline, Krillin died 3 times. So there is that. That one's not that bad. I don't really care. Now again, here we go again. The movies aren't canonical. Now, first of all, almost every Dragon Ball fan that I've ever spoken to knows for a fact that the movies, the 13 original Dragon Ball Z movies are, quote, non-canon. They're side stories. That's fine. The problem is, buddy, if you're going to claim to be a Dragon Ball expert, he writes down here that there are a few films that we can consider canon, like History of Trunks or Bardock the Father of Goku, which again I've debunked on this channel. History of Trunks and Bardock the Father of Goku are not movies. They are TV specials. And before somebody says, well, I still consider them movies, they're not movies. They're basically hour-long TV specials. They have commercial breaks. They have a different production schedule. They even have episode numbers in the Toei, database. They're not movies. No matter which way you want to fantasize about all this, History of Trunks, Bardock the Father of Goku are not movies. And what's sad about this is that this dude could have gone to Wikipedia and it would have been listed as TV specials, not even movies. Like, when Wikipedia is better than you, dude, you should not be writing Dragon Ball articles, dog. Like, you really shouldn't. I mean, I'm sorry if it comes off like that, but, I wouldn't even be doing this if the article didn't come off really like, oh, well, casual fans and hardcore fans. Don't claim to be a hardcore fan when you aren't, obviously. This is pretty basic knowledge right here. Number 10, Goku isn't dumb. So, this whole thing is just, I guess fans just forgot, a lot of stuff, but basically he says, look, he's not passing any quizzes or anything, but Goku's far from stupid. Actually, that's very incorrect. Goku passed the test against the Universe 6 tournament. Remember, you had to pass the test to get in there. And it even says right here that Goku never received any formal schooling, he couldn't pass a basic math test, you're an idiot. Because in the Dragon Ball manga, it's explained that Master Roshi taught him and Krillin basic math and reading. That's in the manga and in the anime. You know, like the guy's just talking shit at this point. Like, again, you're claiming to be a knowledgeable guy, but you're screwing up big time without even understanding that the dude does know how to pass basic math. Is he naive? Does he make dumb decisions? Absolutely. But you say he can't pass a basic math test? No, dude, that's incorrect. Now, can Saiyans breathe in space? This one is much more of a convoluted situation. I cannot address this on this video because it really is like a long... It's a complicated answer because different sources and different stories have told us different things. And I'm not talking about canon, non-canon, filler, non-filler. I mean actual stuff from Toriyama's pen contradicts itself. So what I would suggest is checking out the video I did called Can Saiyans Breathe in Space, where I broke down all the different scenarios of when they can and they can't. He writes short answer is no, but Resurrection F and Battle of Gods say otherwise. You know what I mean? There's other material that says otherwise too. So, because he's over here saying, you know, talking about Bardock, the father of Goku, and things like that. He's saying it might not be considered canon. Well, here's the problem with that, buddy. Whether or not you consider Bardock, the father of Goku, canon, the scene where Bardock is in space about to get killed by Frieza is in the manga. So you can't just pull that part out. You know, it just... No. Can Goku actually drive? So he talks about the filler episode, and he's like, you know, what are some of the fillers that don't exist in the canon? Again, he's talking about canon, and the reality is, and this is the truth, look, every single person I know, every top-tier Dragon Ball historian that I know, from Derek Padula to Herms to Mr. Fusion, nobody uses the word canon. Kanzenshu, they don't use the word canon. I don't use the word canon because there are so many different intricacies to producing this franchise, both manga and anime, that there is no main canon. The safest thing you can say, right, is that the original 42 volumes of the manga are canon. Right? Follow me on that one? Well, here's the problem. He wants to talk about the filler with, you know, the Guard Jr. saga and all these different things. The Adventures on Snake Way, which, by the way, was Toriyama's idea. And the driving episode. But here's the issue, buddy. Dragon Ball's manga, which is... Let me tell you exactly what chapter it was. Chapter 392. Goku is driving the family car with Gohan and Chi-Chi. In the manga, bro. What a stupid freaking article. Number 7, Ultimate Gohan's Power. So, first of all, alright. He says that the Ultimate Gohan form was never fully explained. It was explained, but it was really explained in Dragon Ball Super. You see what I'm saying? And that's the whole thing. And what's weird about this, I don't really understand what this guy's saying, but he actually writes that Ultimate Gohan is often thought to be weaker than Super Saiyan. I've never heard a single fan, and I've been in this fandom for, damn, like 25 years. I don't think I've ever heard a fan ever once say that Ultimate Gohan is weaker than Super Saiyan 1. That's completely illogical, especially with how he performed against Super Buu. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, I don't really... Who has ever said that? You know, the whole thing is just a mess. Like, he's comparing it to SS3 and this and that, which, again, you can you can argue that all you want to. That's up to you. But Ultimate Gohan was explained. In fact, one of my videos called Ultimate Gohan Explained is a 1 million view video where I explain exactly how this works. But, of course, that was thanks to Dragon Ball Super, because that did really give us a lot more of insight. Okay, Goku is a killer. So, now, this is one thing that I kind of somewhat do agree with him, because people keep saying that Goku never killed anybody but Majin Buu and Frieza. Well, that's because you've only seen Dragon Ball Z, and if you've only seen Dragon Ball Z, you haven't seen all of Dragon Ball. Goku kills tons, I mean thousands of Red Ribbon Army people. And I don't think he was trying to kill them, but he killed them. He killed King Piccolo, even though he was reincarnated. He tried to kill, you know, Frieza when he tried to blast him. There was intent there. He spared Frieza, but ultimately tried to blast him when he said, you know, you idiot, and attacked him. He even told Gohan to kill freaking Cell. Remember, he's like, finish him off, and Gohan wanted to play games. Like, no, I agree with him in that this is nonsense, that Goku has killed people before. You know, he has. So he's right about that. I'm not really like, you know, totally against that choice. Dragon Ball rules. Now, again, this one I can't be too hard on him for, because, like, this is not his fault. The Dragon Ball story, the manga and the anime, have changed the rules of the Dragon Balls throughout the years. If you go back and you read the manga from start to finish, forget everything you know now. Just read it from start to finish. You'll notice Toriyama changes the rules as he goes along. For example, in Dragon Ball Z, we find out at the beginning of Dragon Ball Z, or the Dragon Ball manga with the Saiyan saga, the beginning of it, that the dragon cannot grant the same wish twice. Right, which he says right here, he cannot grant the same wish twice. He can grant the same kind of wish, but he can't grant the same wish twice. So that was a rule that we didn't even know about until the Z portion of the story. Toriyama just added that in there. And of course, what he's doing is trying to depower the dragon. I get that, because, you know, otherwise people would be asking, well, why can't you just summon to make the Saiyans go away? Well, you know, the dragon has to be, the wish has to be as strong as the creator, blah, blah, blah. He's always coming up with ways of depowering the dragon to make the story, the narrative flow better. So, you know what I mean? I can't blame him too much for this, because this is confusing. Again, I already covered this in a video called, what the hell I called the video? The Dragon Balls Explained? Is an old Dragon Ball in-depth about the Dragon Balls. It might have been like the story of the Dragon Balls. I don't remember. I made it 3 years ago. But again, I can't blame him for that. And then he goes on to write the Resurrection Rule, which, you know, and he's right. This one he is right about how fans misinterpret this, because they have been able to wish a large number of people back multiple times, but they've never made an individual wish more than once. See what I'm saying? Not to my knowledge. I can't remember them doing it. But people misconstrue that as, oh, they can't repeat wishes. So I mean, that's not really wrong necessarily. Like, he's not wrong about this, in that I have seen Dragon Ball fans get confused about this, but I think a lot of that is the series changing it. Like, they're saying, oh, you can't wish them back, which the actual rule was you can't make the same wish twice. So this is one bullet point that I do agree with him on. Okay, so that's good. Number 3, why Goku stayed dead. This one, I haven't seen too many fans debate this. You know, he basically, to summarize it, I'm not going to read the whole thing here. He says that the reason why Goku died is because Toriyama wanted to phase out Goku as the main character in favor of his son. That's not entirely true, but that seems to be true based on the narrative structure that they were going with. So yes, there's truth to that. The second, in stories, that Goku stayed dead because he believed his power was a magnet for trouble. And that's true. So yes, that is correct. I have seen a couple Dragon Ball fans saying that, oh, he wanted to stay dead because he wanted to fight great warriors in the other world, but that was never stated. Like, that happened in the other world tournament, but that was filler. But Goku didn't say that. Number 2, the first Super Saiyan. This has been up for debate. I actually had a video that I was going to do about this, but I might hold off on it until the movie comes out, because they might retcon this again. You know, he says here, this has led us to a common misconception about Dragon Ball that Goku was the first Super Saiyan in existence. This is not true. I've never heard a fan ever say that they think Goku's the first Super Saiyan. I've heard Bardock, I've heard Broly, I've heard Yamoshi. There's a lot of different theories as far as who the first Super Saiyan was. That fans have come up with, right? I'm not coming up with this, the fans have, and there's validity to pretty much all of them and confusion, but he's not wrong about what he says here, but it just shouldn't be on the list, especially not this high. You know, so it's pretty common knowledge. And then number 1 is very similar, which is Vegeta's fusion. He talks about how, you know, like, he pretty much rambles for most of this. Like, he's talking about, like, you know, are they stuck forever, and then they actually unfuse, and then the retcon in Super You know, they talked about how you have to be a supreme Kai. He actually screwed this up here. He says Kai explained that using Potara fusion would last forever if it was two Kais using the technique. No, if one of the two beings is a Kai, it lasts forever, which is why the witch and the Kai stay fused. Both beings do not have to be gods. Only one has to be a god. So this right here, as number one, it's not a misconception. It's pretty common knowledge. And I remember after that episode aired, 66, it was a discussion topic for days after that. I made a video about it called Plot Holes versus Retcons where we talked about that. And I made another one called the Potara Retcon where I discussed like how in the original story, the reason why they defused was because of the bad atmosphere. There was a bad atmosphere inside of Majin Buu, which again was a debunk because many fans thought it was because of the evil energy of Buu or something like it canceled it out. There's been a bunch of BS rumors about that. But then in Super, they explained to us that it was the rule that there's a temporary fusion with mortals. You know what I mean? So again, it's not something that fans really get confused about. It's just, you know, I don't know why it was number one, but overall this article is pretty much hot garbage. Like the top three choices, I think maybe he settled on those. Maybe he should have just made like a top 5 or top 10 because some of these just shouldn't be on here. And I could tell you more. I mean, there's a whole like, dude, I have a whole series called Dragon Ball Mythbusters. How about the fact that Bulma's last name is not Briefs? I got that video dropping very soon. Tien being an alien. Toriyama wanted to end the series. There's one about Toriyama created Broly. That's BS. Toriyama created Super Saiyan 4. That's BS. You know, there's a lot of fake rumors and fake facts out there. In fact, I could go to one of those horrible Instagram pages and debunk half the stuff on there. But the stuff on here, either this dude got it wrong and doesn't know what he's talking about, or it's just not worthy of being on the list. So that's it. That's what I have for you. Again, if you're going to look for Dragon Ball news, stay away from websites like this and blasting news and screen rant. And no disrespect to these people, but they're going to get stuff wrong, and they don't even take time to do the research because, buddy, some of this stuff's even on Wikipedia. And I don't mean Dragon Ball. I mean regular Wikipedia. Like, come on. Like, and they're not wrong about stuff all the time. Sometimes they are. Thank you so much. Hope y'all have a good one. Hope you enjoyed my little debunk. I had fun with it. And I'll talk to y'all soon.